morning, everyone. I'm Crystal Budis, founding CEO of Philo for Thought. Our board of directors joins in welcoming you all to our 2021 Spring Symposium, Leadership and Society. As usual, we begin by offering a special thanks to all those who contributed to the coordination of today's discussions and awards. What constitutes a good leader? We may think of frontline respondents, directors, and so on, but on equal footing with vocal leaders are those who lead behind the scenes through vocational industries like education, coaching, technical development, civil engineering, and philanthropy. No matter whether you choose the path of Alexander the Great or the quieter path of Aristotle, you are a compass for those around you on the path to progress and reform. You disrupt, influence, or connect because of your own status and experience, particularly as society grapples with the changing landscape of an increasingly globalized, diversified, and transparent reality. To lead others is at once a remarkable gift and a trying responsibility that requires a combination of wisdom and the warrior spirit that we as Greeks are so famous for. As we find new ways to work together for the better future, we ask you to consider one new thing you can do each year to make your direct and extended communities a better place. Ask yourself how you can take the lessons from today's talks to find your own place in the world and help others to do the same. Remember that your Greek roots, the unflappable faith and core values that come with our identity as an ancient community, is a precious gift and a powerful tool that both motivates and connects us across townships and nations and oceans. Our natural tenacity in all things allows us to consider complex issues and approach challenges with intuitive clarity and a quirky sort of optimism that is our trademark. As citizens of a global community reconnecting in a time of crisis, we all have the potential to be disruptors and influencers. I hope you will use this time and knowledge you gain in the coming year to foster a positive, productive pivot towards life-changing, game-changing, next-generation opportunities. Take the time to see your own potential and to appreciate how essential you are to moving your community forward. No matter where you are in life, you're surrounded by an opportunity to experience, absorb, learn, and move forward with clarity and support. Today, we're blessed to have an array of brilliant speakers, mentors, and honorees among us. Each is distinguished for his or her substantial contributions to society in the fields of public service, education, business, innovation, philanthropy, and politics. We are honored and humbled to have the amazing support of these distinguished individuals in making opportunities available to the Hellenic young professional community. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. We hope that you will each have this year's event, we hope that you will leave this year's event with a new and valuable outlook for the future. And now, without further delay, we invite you to enjoy today's scheduled talks and activities. So I'll pass the floor to our first esteemed guest, Dr. Konstantinos Koutras, Consul General of Greece in New York. Dr. Koutras.
Thank you, Chris, and congratulations for the continuous effort you are doing. Congratulations. We gather today to put our heads together and find innovative ideas for leadership and society. In my thinking, Chris, if we want to get our chance off to a good start, we need to change our perception, and by this, I even mean the selection of words. It is not so much about leadership and society, but rather leadership for society. You see, a political scientist will tell you that society's mission is to build leaders who make a better world. What constitutes a better world is something that each country, system, or community must find out for itself. Representing Greece in New York, Chris, give me an opportunity to elaborate on what Greece does or can do within its European family. Think of it as a suggestion coming from another value system. Right now, my dear friends, the European Union focuses on the post-pandemic period. COVID-19 will leave deep scars in world economy, even after recovery. And although economists predict that recovery will be made possible at a faster pace compared, of course, to other financial crises, one can easily assume that there will be long-lasting symptoms, especially for economies and societies which were frail to begin with. Just to give you an idea, the pandemic has accelerated the use of robots in both manufacturing and in the service industry. McKinsey predicts that over 100 million people in 8 of the world's largest economies, not the third world, 8 of the world's largest economies, may need to switch occupation by 2030. And of course, those most likely to suffer will be the less educated, women, since we dedicate a large part of our event to them, and we honor to do that, and of course the young. So basically, the very people who we try to help through this symposium, Chris, and congratulations again. So a risk identification process is not the same for every system. As I said before, it will be up to each community to decide its own set of priorities. The Europeans have come up with the triptych sustainable, inclusive, tasteful. It is a very difficult combination to achieve because normally one is fulfilled at the expense of the other. For example, socially inclusive solutions are usually expensive and therefore not sustainable. Similarly, aesthetic selections cannot always be inclusive. And just because the words I used are more denotative of a work of art, I will try to put it within the context of macroeconomics. Europe is a very sensitive to social protection. Leaders will have to come up with ideas not for just any type of jobs, but for the type of growth which tackles A, climate change, B, the digital divide, C, social exclusion, not to mention the ugliness of an overexploited urban ecosystem. To summarize it, we are, Chris, we are in a search of a greener, better, and fairer jobs. In terms of difficulty, this is a challenge second only to squaring the circle, as our Greek geometers were the first to suggest. Of course, we cannot square the circle, but we can make our future brighter. And this is where leadership becomes pivotal. Leaders are not necessarily the head of an administration. Legislation and the executive branch can, of course, set the trend and provide the incentives, but the whole campaign must be conducted at the grassroots. Coming to today's topic of discussion, it falls on the shoulders of the new leaders to do a couple of the following things. The first challenge is the most difficult one, to think of the answers which solve the equation. How can we be productive and competitive without spending too much money, without violating our environment, and without leaving too many people behind? Science can help, and leaders must have good advisors. Two heads are always better than one, and let us remember thus that a leader is not always the person who devised the solution, but the person who knows where to look for it. Another thing a leader must do is to explain an inconvenient truth. This means making other reluctant people understand that to win something, you have to lose something. The only means a leader has is the power of the argument, the power to inspire, and of course, the power of successful result. We often talk, Chris, about the rise and the fall of an ideology. Ideas fail when they stop delivering satisfying results. It's not a matter of a good or bad communication campaign. Policies are most often contested when they stop being useful. Concluding with our lessons from Europe, these remarks may sound self-evident, however, they have made governments fall faster than a falling elevator. You know that. Disenchantment and distrust is very common among Western societies. I do not believe it should be attributed to lack of democracy. We never had it any better in terms of access to information and opportunities to speak for ourselves. But if the rules of the game are more or less fair, why is it then that societies struggle to strike a balance? In my humble opinion, the question is not whether we have the means at our disposal, but mostly what we do with them. It is not enough to have a compass. You need to know how to use it as well. And you need to know where you're going. Because, as we say, no wind is favorable to the man who knows not the port he sails to. But this is exactly what makes true leaders so special and so rare. Thank you very much, and congratulations again for inviting me to your event, Chris, and congratulations to all of the other friends, guys, that I'm seeing in the camera.
Thank you so much, Dr. Koutras. We're very blessed to have you give the opening remarks and to support us on behalf of the Consulate General of Greece in New York for so many years.